welcome back. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of Raw, Real, and Unfiltered. You guys just get me today. So Heidi is still out from surgery, and it's just a crazy time with the end of summer lining up other guests. So look forward to this fall. I'm going to have a lot of fun people on the show. But thank you so much for tuning in. We love you guys so much. Thank you so much for all the support. And please, if you haven't, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave us lots of comments, just give us feedback so that we know if we're doing the right thing. Let me know if there's anything that you want me to cover, if you want me to talk about. I'm pretty much up to talk about anything. That's why we called it Unfiltered in the first place.
Let them take me as far as they want to go. And it's time for me to say, they won't break me, I'm braver than I know. I was made for this. Oh, such a time as this. Oh, I was made for this.
So today there were a couple things that I wanted to talk about. One of them being, you guys, I have two boys that are looking into moving out soon. And one of them has been graduated for 2 years. The other one just graduated in May. And I don't know, I mean, it was always kind of hypothetical, and they were talking about maybe when we move out or when, when this happens or that happens. Well, you guys, they're actually looking at apartments now. And it got really real for me last night and this morning when I was talking to them, and they just started asking about, well, what do we need to bring with us when we move out, and how do we know if we're ready and if we're prepared? And guys, that was a whole new thing of parenting for me, I guess. And when I started to talk to my son about it this morning, I said, well, you have your bed and you have your dressers and things like that. I'm like, but have you thought about plates and cups and silverware and a can opener? Do you have a can opener? Do you have pots and pans? And we kind of laughed about it because I was like, everything that we have at our parents' house, it's just there. We just assume that it's there and they have it, and then when you move out on your own, all of a sudden you have to be responsible for all those things, like toilet paper and paper towels and bath towels and washcloths. And we started kind of talking about it, and I said, well, maybe I can make you a list of like the essentials that you would need. So it's new for me. This is a whole new phase for me to be entering into, and I know a lot of you have already gone through this, but this is definitely a first for me, and I thought I was a lot more ready for it than I am. I'm all in the feels about this one. You raise them when they're babies and when they're toddlers, and you think, oh my gosh, am I ever going to get a night's sleep? Is this phase ever going to end? And you very rarely actually think about, when they're 18, 19, 20, 21, and they actually start moving out of the house, how that's going to feel. Well, we've covered that on a couple of the other episodes, and I wasn't quite in that space yet, so I just kind of talked from what I thought it would feel like. But this one is definitely a lot different than what I had anticipated. So I'm feeling complete and utter joy. I am proud of them. I am super excited for them to start this new phase in their life. But on the other hand, I'm devastated. I would be okay if they stayed with me for the rest of their lives. I mean, okay, they have to have their own families, I get it. But, I'm okay with them being here. I enjoy having my boys in the house. I love coming home and joking with them. I love just those late night moments where everybody's standing in the kitchen and we're talking about everything and nothing all at once. And I love the noise that they bring to the household and the coming and going and the teens, and that was the other part of it. So we have always had, our boys and then their friends, and, it's an open door. We have an open door to anybody that wants to come in. Pretty much our rule in our household is if you've been in our house more than 3 times, you are no longer a guest, you're family, which means that you get your own plates and cups and, you take care of your own stuff. You can eat anything you want out of the pantry and the refrigerator, and that's kind of how it's worked. Well, what didn't dawn on me until this morning was not only are my boys leaving, but all of their friends as well. And that hit me in a place I didn't realize and I wasn't expecting, and I'm gonna miss so much of that too. I mean, we have had our household full of children for so long, and teenagers for, let's see, Alex is 20, so we've had teenagers in our house for 7 years, and I'm not ready to let go of that yet. So I hope that if I bake and I make enough food for them, that they will stop by and they'll come and visit more often. I feel like food is a really good way to get people to come over and spend time with you. But I'm definitely not going to be one of those people that are like, why haven't you visited me and why haven't you seen me yet? And the great thing is that, you know, Addison is in her phase of high school now, and so more of her high school friends have been coming over, and then they will fill the house. So we're not quite to the empty nest yet, and I'm grateful for that because I'm definitely not ready for all of them to be gone. And I think that it's just a new phase in life. I guess it's just it's birthing them into a new chapter in their lives. They're closing out one chapter and they're just opening another one. And we have options as parents. We can be upset, we can be devastated, we can be kind of snarky and sarcastic, or we can be supportive and loving and remembering that they are just learning how to do all of this on their own. They are navigating their own paths as adults and as emerging, the next generation of leaders. And we have to allow them the space to do that. We have to allow them the space to do that. We've talked about it on other podcasts where, when they move out, that's not it. That's not final. If something happens and they need to come back, we will welcome them with open arms. And I think a lot of times, I've talked to other moms, and stuff that we might have missed out on as teenagers ourselves, maybe we had kids early or we got married early, or we just, things that we didn't get to do when we were younger, somehow we try to put that on our kids, and we try to, live vicariously through them. And it puts all kinds of pressure and expectations and unnecessary stress on their lives, because it's not their lives, or it's not our lives, it's their lives, and we need to allow them to be able to have that space to discover who they are. And so if you're one of those parents that are starting to kind of just, well, I want you to do this because I want you to, and I want you to be a doctor because everybody else is a doctor, or a lawyer, or whatever it is, allow your children to have that space to discover what they want to do for themselves. Whether that's, a sports program that you're pushing them to stay in because you want them to be in it, or if it's a career path that you have kind of already laid out for them and you just expect them to follow it, just remember that they are not you, and that they are complete humans in themselves. They have their own likes, their own desires, their own way of doing things. And as parents, it's our job just to coach them and to just guide them and to answer any questions that they have. But we're not supposed to be living their lives for them. We're not supposed to be telling them exactly what to do. And we're there to be their cheerleaders and just, pick them up when they're down and just encourage them when they're having a bad day. And then celebrate all of their successes, no matter how small or how big. That's not even what I was going to talk about today, which is really funny because that's kind of how my subjects go, is whatever's going on in my life is what I talk about. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is moms and women in general. I started this podcast for women. I started the podcast to give women a voice, and I started the podcast to not be afraid to talk about the hard subjects and the difficult issues. And women, we deal with a lot of things in our lives, one of them being loving yourself. So how do you do that well? In the end of the last episode of our podcast, we talked about, I shared a story about a woman that hated every photo that had ever been taken of her. And I encouraged her to be able to find the things in the photo that she did like. Whether it was one thing or 5 things, I just wanted her to find something. Why is that so hard for us to do as women? Why are we so critical of ourselves? I know I am. I am all the time. I mean, I'm probably sitting here on this bench thinking, is my belly hanging out or is it not? How do I look in this? And why does that matter so much? You know, why is that such an important thing that we can never just accept ourselves for who we are and love ourselves with all of our quirks and our faults and all of the things that make us who we are? I mean, if you think about it, would you really want to live in a world where everybody looked the exact same and everybody sounded the exact same and everybody dressed the same way and had the same skills? And what a boring world that would be. It would be just colorless. So my daughter just brought up a great point, and that is, why is it that we hide behind filters on everything? Snapchat, Instagram, all the different things. We're never just content with taking a photo of who we are and what we look like and then posting that. We always have to find the right angle and the right pose and the right filter. And I actually spoke to a woman this weekend at our girls' weekend that said that. She's like, I don't post anything without a filter. Well, I remember having a conversation with my daughter a while ago about, if you can't love yourself for who you are without a filter, if you can't love yourself with, you know, with a plain face, with no makeup on, or with your hair not done, or, you know, with Photoshop not having retouched everything about you, then you're really going to struggle with that. If that is the way that you see yourself, you have to be all done up all the time. You have to be, you know, just proper and have everything polished and everything perfect. You can never just relax and be and just love who you are. You're always loving a masked version of yourself. You're always loving who you want to be rather than who you are. And that's just not reality. If you can learn to look yourself in the mirror and see yourself for who you are, take all your makeup off, let your hair be, take off all of your fancy clothes and put on sweatpants, and look in the mirror and fall in love with that woman. Fall in love with that girl. I know that teenagers, they deal with this especially in more of an outward way. You know, there's a lot of bullying that goes on for appearance alone. I was bullied, you guys, in 6th grade for having red hair. I was punched in the stomach by a boy for having red hair. I mean, is that something that I can control? No, it was the color of my hair. And as a teenager, I didn't have a great witty comeback for it. But now I think, that's what you had to pick on me for, was the color of my hair? You had nothing better to be able to pick on me for? And then it actually made me feel pretty good, because that was it. That's all they could find on me. And so the more confident that you are, teenagers, the more confident that you are in who you are, especially heading into middle school, heading into high school. If you can learn to love yourself for who you are, all of your quirks, all of your quote-unquote faults, all the things that make you different, if you can learn to love that person, then you become so powerful, because nobody can affect you. Those words that the dumb other teenagers say to you will have no effect on you, because you are strong and you are confident in who you are. So always remember that. Yes, would we love to change things about ourselves? I'm sure we would. Wouldn't that be cool? But we can't. This is who we are. And I know some people out there have thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of cosmetic surgery in order to look like somebody that they're not. But at the end of the day, they have lost their identity. They have lost who they actually are in this pursuit of being somebody that they weren't born to be. And your strength, your superpower, comes from the fact that you, and only you, can ever be you. Nobody else, not even identical twins, can be the exact same person as each other. So your superpower, always remember that, girls, is that nobody can take away who you are. Nobody can duplicate it exactly. Remember that your fingerprints are unique. Nobody else has fingerprints like you. Nobody else has a laugh like you. Nobody else has a smile like you. I have been compared to Amy Schumer like so many times on the comments on TikTok, and it just makes me laugh because I put a photo next to each other, you know, and I'm like, well, is it the red hair? I've been told I sound like her, but does that make me Amy Schumer? No. Does that make Amy Schumer Sarah Seaberg? No. We just happen to have similarities. And so I think especially as we head into school, at least in Michigan, we're heading into school next week, And I want to get the message out to as many middle schoolers as I can, whether you are a boy or a girl. Just remember who you are. Never, ever sacrifice who you are. Be confident, be strong, be happy with who you are. And if you have a fault, if you have something that you think is a fault or it's not good enough for other people, own that. You own it and you make it yours. Let me demonstrate. I have very fat thumbs, right? They're just fat thumbs. And I got teased for that all the time. I was told when I eat a bowl of cereal or a bowl of soup that I didn't need to bring my own spoon because I had my thumbs with me. And you guys, it used to bug me so bad that I would walk around with my hands like this because I was ashamed of my thumbs. Now, do my thumbs work perfectly? Yes, they do. They are fully functional. They're just shorter and wider. I have very tiny little hands and very tiny little thumbs. And like I said, it used to bug me so bad. And then I was like, oh wait, I'm like, Megan Fox has these thumbs and she's like one of the hottest girls in the world. So if Megan Fox can pull off being a movie star with thumbs like I have, then what do I have to worry about? Come on, But if you've got something like a weird laugh or a weird giggle or a cool birthmark that you have somewhere or, just something that makes you different, that's your superpower. Own that. Again, you never know. Other people might look at you and be like, I wish that I was like that person. Always remember that. Everybody is looking at everybody else thinking that they're not good enough. When in reality, a lot of times we're looking at each other like, oh, I wish I could be like that person, or I wish I could, do things like that person. And we have no idea. We don't know that they feel that way because we don't walk around telling people that. But remember that. And a lot of times when kids are bullying you, it means that they are broken. Like broken people and hurting people, they hurt people because it makes them feel better. And it just breaks my heart for these people that do bully others. I just want to go give them a hug and say, I'm so sorry that something in your life has caused you to treat other people like this. And I feel bad for them. And if you can look at it that way, it takes their power away. So remember that when you're heading into school. Also remember, you guys, when you head into school next week, you don't know what battles other people are fighting. You don't know what has happened in that student's life. You don't know what's going on with them. You don't know what's going on with their family. So just have so much grace and so much kindness and treat other people like you want to be treated. That is the only way to get through this life. If you can remember to treat other people as kindly and with as much grace as you want to be treated, it'll be a lot easier to navigate through this life. And I'm back. This one-woman operation thing over here is very funny. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit and I'm going to talk to moms and women in general. We are probably some of the hardest people on ourselves. And I've talked about this again in the past couple podcasts. But I want you to understand that somewhere along the way for some moms, they get lost in their identity. They become so wrapped up in being mom, right, wearing that hat, that they forget that they are a woman. And that they, prior to having kids, we had passions and creativity and goals and dreams and all of that. And I think that raising children is the best job in the entire world. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world to have raised these 3 kids. It is something that not everybody has the privilege of doing, and it needs to never ever be thought of as like a waste, or I'm just a mom, or I'm just a housewife, or a stay-at-home mom. You guys, stay-at-home moms work so hard. I was a stay-at-home mom. My husband was amazing and worked really, really hard. He worked 2 different jobs at some points to allow me to stay home with our kids and raise them until they were in school. I know that's not the case for everybody, but I'm speaking right now specifically to those stay-at-home moms. In the month that we're in right now and in the week that we're in right now, you guys are like superheroes. You have made it through the entire summer, and I'm so proud of you. I think you've done an amazing job. I know you are counting down the seconds and the minutes until school starts on Monday, so you can send your kids back to school and they can stop asking you for a snack every 32 seconds. But remember, those years go fast. All of your time, your work that you put into it, all of the love that you put into it, it matters. I promise you. Whether anybody can actually see it or not, it's nothing that will ever be documented. You could never actually fill out a time card as a stay-at-home mom because you wouldn't have enough different lines to fill it in, and nobody could ever pay you what you're worth. So just remember that. And working moms, I've also been a working mom. I'm currently a working mom. I have like 3 different jobs right now, and I just took on a 4th one, so there's that. That's a whole different level of hard because you're missing time with your kids when you're at work. You have to coordinate everything all over the place. Your household responsibilities do not lessen. They are all still there when you get home from work. And in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with working moms and there's nothing wrong with stay-at-home moms. It is all just what your life is able to give you. And I think that each one deserve to wear capes on the back, and they deserve to just be holding a glass of wine and sometimes get to put our feet up and eat bonbons, because moms in general are the most amazing people in the entire world. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a mom. I'm saying it because other moms are absolutely incredible. So moms coming towards the end of the summer, hang in there. You've got this. Enjoy every last bit of our Michigan summer that we have. And for those of you that are not in Michigan and you might have your summer a little bit longer, I hope you enjoy that as well. I mentioned that I went on a girls' weekend this weekend, and I do it every year. This is my 5th year in a row going to this particular place. And it was exactly what I needed. It was a weekend away with no responsibilities. I didn't even have service where I was, so I couldn't even answer my phone. I couldn't check emails. I couldn't respond to clients. I couldn't do any of that. And it was exactly what all of the women that were there, we were all moms and we all escaped for the weekend, and it's what we needed. You guys, it's called self-care. And if you don't do it as a woman, if you don't do it as a teen woman or an adult woman or a mom or a grandma, you guys, we have to take time for ourselves. We have to take time for self-care, because you're gonna burn out real fast, and you can't give from an empty bucket. You need to make sure that in your planner, your calendar, whether you use Google Calendar or a written calendar, write down activities at least once a month, and I would recommend once a week, doing something that is for you and only you, and it's self-care. That can be something as easy as an extra 5 minutes in the shower. And then when those kids go back to school, ladies, go get a pedicure. You deserve it. Go get a massage. Go do something to celebrate the fact that you made it through the summer and all your kids are still relatively functional, and that now you get to send them back to school, and that the teachers can handle them from now on. I'm also a teacher, so I totally understand how that all goes. And teachers, that will be a whole nother episode for you, because you are some of the most amazing people in the world, especially what you've gone through over the past couple of years. I give all teachers so much credit. So I just had another topic come in from my teenage daughter, who's now standing behind the camera, because she's amazing. So we, since our kids were born, have always said that we have been raising adults. We don't need to teach kids how to be kids. They figure that out all on their own. You don't need to teach them how to be kids. But what you want to do is remember that you're raising adults. And so that's kind of like your final destination. But that also doesn't mean that you should treat them like adults all the time or expect things from them like they're adults. I think that's a big one, is having that expectation, meeting them where they're at in terms of wherever their ages are. So allowing them to still have fun and be a kid. Oh, look at that sweet little bee. Look at all the pollen on it. Oh, I wish I could zoom in. It's so, so cute. Anyways, sorry. I'm super excited about bees eating off of my flower right now, because that means that more bees will be around. So I know that my daughter struggled with that a lot, in school, They wanted her to behave like an adult, like, come on, you know, sit up, do this. So she was treated like a kid, but then they wanted her to act like an adult. And it just created a very strange scenario for her to be in. And now she's heading into high school, and I'm interested to see if that will be the same going into high school. I know a lot of times that she thought that her opinion didn't matter, you know, when she would speak about things in class. Oh, and I kept telling her, I'm like, just wait until high school and college. I'm like, then all of a sudden your voice matters. I think that middle school teachers have a hard time weeding out the silliness and the nonsense and finding the genuine statements that are made by students. And I think that that was very frustrating. Are you getting ready for volleyball?
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
Bringing stuff out here.
My daughter made the volleyball team, by the way. We're super, super proud of her. I can't wait to go see her at games. All right, so I know this podcast has been literally all over the place. We have talked about like 12 different things, and I don't care because that's kind of how my brain works, and I'm okay with that. So one thing that I know as women, one thing I struggle with is saying no. I just want to please everybody. I want to do everything for everybody. I want to be able to help everybody out. And when they ask for my help, I want to be like, yeah, no problem. I can totally do that. It is okay to say no. It is okay to say, I just can't do that right now, or whatever your reasoning is. That is an okay thing, because us women, we tend to just pile it on and pile it on. And I kind of liken it to when I used to bring my kids to Sunday school. They would like leave with all these papers and all of this, and we'd be standing there at church, and as I'm talking to the other people at church, my kids would just come up and put everything in my hand. And then I think they were finding extra things at that point to come and put in my hand, because I never wavered from the conversation. I would just kind of grab whatever was in their hand, and then my husband would hand me stuff, and I would literally be standing there in the church, you know, atrium or whatever, and my arms were completely full. And all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, you take all of this. This is not mine. But as women, as moms, that's what we do. We go on about our day. We don't even skip a beat. And we just are like, yeah, I can do that. 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 Until all of a sudden we're like, enough. We can't. And then, you know, that leaves us with anxiety and stress and frustration and then guilt. We add guilt to it, because then we're like, well, we should be able to do these things because we're super moms, so we should totally be able to do all of this. You guys, there is no standard you have to meet. There is no like bar you have to keep up with. None of that. You need to do what you can do. And some days that looks like, wow, I just got 72 things done today. This is amazing. And other days it's I got up, I got dressed, and I took a shower. That was the extent that I had. And what I'm going to end with is what my husband and I started doing a couple months ago, was a great communication tip, right? And this all ties in with it. Some days I am ready to give about 75%. Or some days I'm feeling like good and I'm almost at like 100%, like everything's good and I'm going good, right? And then there's other days I only have 5% to bring right then. And I tell him that, like, I'm at 5% right now. And he's like, all right, I'll meet you with the other 95. And some days he's like, I'm at 10%. And I'm like, I'll bring the other 90, you know, because we do it together. So whether you do that with your kids or you do that with your husband or you do that with your families, it's communicating and letting the other person know, like, I'm doing great right now. I have a lot to bring to the table, or I'm not, you know. And some days I'm like, I'm at about a 50. It could go either way. But it really helps to communicate to that other person that maybe they can bring it. Now, what happens on the days that we're both at like 5 or 10? Well, then we're extra super sensitive with each other. We're careful with what we say. We both know that we are just done. We are stressed, we're tired, whatever it is that's bringing us down that low. Then we know that we're there. Because without that information, without the, you know, that communication, you could easily get frustrated with each other and say, well, you know, you're just not bringing enough to the table, or you're not doing this, or you're not doing that. I enjoy the math part of it because it always has to add up to 100. So then I know, okay, well, I'm only feeling like a 40 right now, but I bet if I pushed myself, I could get up to like an 80 for him, you know, because I love him and I want to be able to do that for him. And then other days I'm just realistic and I'm like, this is all I got right now. This is literally everything I've got. So tell me your thoughts on that. Leave some comments and, you know, subscribe to my channel, you guys. I am almost at 10,000 followers on TikTok, and I'm super excited about that. I would love to see more movement on our YouTube channels, and I would also love to see more movement on Facebook and on Instagram. So please make sure that you're hitting that like button, that you are subscribing, so that you can catch all of our information that we send out there. We do a podcast every week, rain or shine, doesn't matter. And we love you guys. Thank you so much for your support again, and we will see you next week. I really, really hope that Heidi will be back with us next week. I have missed her so much. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.